Welcome to Narratives Leadership Story Talks, where great leaders go beyond the bottom line to create lasting impact. Join hosts Jerome Deroy and Julienne Ryan as they uncover the stories behind real-world challenges, offering practical insights to help you lead with empathy, authenticity, and purpose. Each episode dives into how leaders use storytelling to build trust, foster connection, and inspire action. Whether you're navigating workplace dynamics, driving change, or building high-performing teams.
And every once in a while, I'll tell, typically, if I'm going to tell a really difficult story that I know is going to have emotion, and sometimes it touches emotion in me, even though I do feel like this is a scar, I'll kind of set the audience up just to say, like, this is a story that's likely to bring up emotion. It might for me, it might for you. I want you to know ahead of time that I'm intentionally choosing this story. Here's the reasons why. And I'm okay. So I want you to take care of yourself for this time.
All right. Well, that was Lisa Telstra, who was on our podcast not that long ago, and really excited to be debriefing about this one, Jules. How about you? How are you?
Well, I'm always interested in having these debriefs because it gives me, I've been mulling about this topic and what she addressed. So I'm excited we're getting to do this today.
Yeah. And the thing that I struck me about this and why I wanted to talk about this today is that, she brought up something that's interesting because she was talking about a time when she was telling a story on stage and felt the need to tell the audience that this was emotional for her and that it might become emotional for them, and to do whatever they needed to do to kind of take care of themselves, but to know that she was okay no matter what, even if she was maybe going to cry or something during the telling of that story, but that it's okay, that there's nothing for them to do. They don't need to comfort her, console her, or anything like that. And she knows where she's going, and she's indicating that to her audience. And very, very often, I see people who do the opposite, who sort of sweep it under the rug, who don't, who go into a situation where they're telling a story of their own or presenting on something that triggers some kind of emotion in them, and they're trying to keep it together. And they're not telling anything to anyone about what's going on internally. And as a result, the audience is very often kind of scratching their heads or wondering what's going on, and they're losing the thread of the content, whether that's a presentation or a story. And so what Lisa advised in that podcast, I thought was powerful because that, to me, dissolves everything. It's like, okay, now I know where Lisa is, and I can actually lean into her story. I'm not wondering about how she's doing or anything like that. So that was my thought about it, but curious what you think.
I agree. So we talk about the why of our story, like why are you sharing this story and why now? So first of all, be prepared that it's the audience's, your listeners' first time experiencing that. And the more impactful your story, the more you have to give them space to absorb it and to go through the host of reactions and thoughts in that moment. A few seconds may seem like forever, but it's the pacing. So it is a contract. It's an informal contract we're forming with the listener. We're being vulnerable. We're giving it to some, but now they're carrying it and they're not sure what to do with it. So I thought Lisa's guidance was very important to reassure the audience of why it is. So when we're in conversations, it doesn't have to be on a stage, it can just be in an interaction where something's happening. Think ahead to, I have this powerful, like if you've had a loss in your family or if you had this sudden tragedy, help people help you by indicating how you would like them to listen and receive the story. If there's an embedded action that you want them to know about, to say, and this is why I need space, or I'm going to need some help, or a permission to be quiet, or whatever it is you need. because it's huge. But you have to try to help them help you. And
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of times we go in, whether it's in a work situation or in a marriage, we have expectations of our spouse, how they're supposed to react or help us. And it's unfair because they don't always know the right solution for us or what we need in that moment. So we have to take ownership of this huge thing that we're sharing. Yes, we're being vulnerable, but we also still have to bear responsibility that it's going to be a step-by-step process. And some people will disappoint us in how they receive the story. Some people will question us. Some people critique us. So at the same time, we have to be in a position to start to just say, at the end of the day, that is, and I will make sure I get help from me if it ends up hitting a chord, what I decide to share. And it had a reverse reaction than I wanted. So I think talking it out loud to a trusted person that you have some history with and just practicing. So I hope that makes sense, because I think sometimes we think we're going to be bold and share things and share a backstory, and you're left with the space in the room or in the interaction. So I think it has to be a little bit more thoughtful.
Yeah, yeah. And I think what is very helpful to build on what you said is answering that question for yourself. Why am I telling a story? Why now? And that's going to bring up the audience. Who's my audience? What do I know about them? Or the theme of the presentation, whatever the context in which you're choosing to tell a story. And the other thing I would just wanted to say is that this can also be very, very simple and very practical. And you can choose in the moment to say something such
Mhm.
as, I am really anxious right now. This is a story I've never told to anyone before. So I'm just going to ask you to please lean in and
Mhm.
whatever else, put your devices away, put them on silent. I think that's where, as someone who is about to share something with whatever the audience might be, whether it's one person or 1,000 people, don't hesitate to say what you need right there in the moment. It's great to prepare and all of that, but when you're there in the moment, if you're feeling something, you should go ahead and acknowledge it for the audience, because it helps you and then it helps them. So, yeah, I think that's no matter what the topic is.
And this is so important because to your point, it could be an audience of one, maybe an interview or a small group or your team meeting, or it could be your audience that you always have like all those C words in your health, context and communication. And also, what does success look like for you? If you're sharing that story and it's what would I want that person to do or feel? Do I feel heard? Do they now have a little bit of context why maybe I'm in a bad mood or quiet or something in my meetings and I've retreated, that it's not about them, it's navigating something in my life, and that you're okay with them just hearing it. Sometimes it's not solving it, it's just being aware and knowing it's going to change the lens of how they're looking at you and interact. So give them some steps. Don't just let them worry about now what do I do? So I've had, and you are coach and I do too. And sometimes our clients, they've gone through a important milestone, like they've lost a spouse or they gone through a divorce or they lost the business. They need to figure out how to navigate it and what that person can do to help them and support them, or just acknowledge what they've shared. And
Mhm.
that usually creates a bond, and people are pretty good about stepping up. We just need to help them get there for us.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Love it. Okay, well, thanks for all those insights, and of course, if our listeners want to listen to the full podcast episode with Lisa Hope Telstra, you can go to narrative.com, narrativ.com. Really recommend that you do that. And of course, you'll find our entire archive of our 120 plus episodes at this point on the website. So don't hesitate to go there. And if you've been inspired by this and you want to know more, you want to learn more about how to become present, how to be in the moment, how to tell a story that might be difficult to tell, which story needs to be told, why you need to tell a story, et cetera, et cetera. These are all questions that we have between us many, many, many years of experience, and we're always happy to come and listen to what you have to say and what your challenges are. So don't hesitate, get in touch, and we'll see you next time. Thank you so much.
You mind until the next episode. I can't believe we've done so many. Oh my goodness, it's incredible.
Yeah, amazing. All right, well, thank you.
For more information on the narrative listening and storytelling method and how it can help your business, go to narrative.com.